I often learn more from witnessing the other men go through their journey and what that reflects back to me about my journey than me going through my own process.
I know, right?
The guard's down, the ego's down. It's about somebody else. Yeah. It's okay, right?
It's easier for you to
it's easier to journal and get things down. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I'm Tim Matthews, and I'm joined with Mr. Mark Smith and Mr. Derek Kalamitsiotis.
Yes.
Excited
to be here.
I got it right.
Well done.
Tried practicing.
Yeah, I have been. So here we are after Tartu, the Alpha Rising.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how would you describe your experience?
It was breathtaking. It was amazing to dig in as we dug in and experience a much deeper connection with myself through my journey and where I'm headed. You know, the journey is the destination. So opening up, where are we going next? Where am I going next to become a better man, father, leader? What
would you say came up for you that was the hottest topic?
Hottest for me would have been my past of things that were holding me back from progressing to be better again as a father and a business leader. But the more important part about that is a lot around communication and presence. So being able to be present in the situations with the people that I love or care about, or, business and those types of opportunities.
What was it like for you to have the opportunity to be coached at that deeper level?
I mean, it was amazing. I've been fortunate to be coached by many of you men, the coaches that are here, and it's another level, especially having the crew of you guys present for our experience. It's eye-opening.
So you stepped to the line. You really went to a place where it must have been challenging for you. What opportunities have opened up as a result, do you think, from being on that journey, which is the destination, as you said?
Yeah. I'm excited when I get home for the connection with my kids. Yeah. So a lot of my drive, my direction is being more present with my children.
Yeah.
And look, I had a great upbringing, right? I had a good upbringing, but is there an opportunity for me to be better or do better? Yes. I want to do the best, though, not just better.
Yeah.
So, how can I be more present for my girls and their lives to make sure that they grow up to become better than I am or better than their parents?
Yeah.
I love the way in which you hold yourself accountable. Every time when we brought the guys back into session, we ask them, hey, sit down if you feel like you're a step into the line. And more often than not, you would stay standing.
Yeah.
Even if there was a hint of doubt, you would stay standing.
Yes.
And let's talk about that for a second, because there's a double-edged sword to both those. On one hand, I love the way you hold yourself accountable. On the other side, I wonder if there's a piece of you that is a little bit too harsh on yourself.
Sometimes on standing, or not feeling that I'm fully stepping to the line, is that I'm not fully open with the other men that are on the journey. And that I might not be fully present for them because I'm holding something back. So I would rather get that off of my chest and put that out into the group, to the universe, to be dissected and processed, whether it's from recommendations from them, coaches. But I talked about this as we were going through it, bringing the team together as the 8-10 of us join as a force there's a lot of power in that.
Mm-hmm.
And early on, there's almost all of these journeys, there's a disconnection in that force of power because all the men we're not all aligned. It takes a little bit of time to get us aligned. And to get aligned, we all have to have an idea of what we're each going through, where we are on the journey.
Yeah.
So if I don't feel a connection, I would typically...
Yeah, I was just curious how that might show up outside of the rising, right? As you're going through everyday life. Because what I love about you is how keen you are for feedback, how coachable you are in applying the feedback. And I get the impression you are a big accountability guy. Like, you hold yourself very accountable in my experience of working with you over the past few years. I think it's a major strength.
Yeah.
And, I resonate with it, right? You and I are very similar in the sense that we're very structured with reviews and journaling and that kind of stuff. And it's usually in those things where the personal accountability comes up, right? Just like you, I've also found a lot of power and been vulnerable and just sharing the pieces of me that, I may be doubtful of or questioning or whatever it may be. I'm very quick to want to share them. But there's also a double-edged sword to that, right, as well. Because within the personal accountability, if I'm not careful, I can become a little bit too harsh with myself. And without knowing it, I can then start to look at others through a similar lens. Whether it's Amelia, and this used to be more of a struggle for me in the past, but I could then become too critical. Whether it's my family, I could do the same thing. And then because I was holding myself to such a high standard, I would then try and hold them to kind of a similar standard that they'd never even said they wanted to be held to. I just thought that's a standard that they should be held to because I saw the benefit and the value, right? And again, for a long time, I really struggled with how to balance that, right? How do I continue to grow still, be honest with myself, be vulnerable with myself, while at the same time not judging myself too harshly and thus also not judging others too.
What's coming up for me is covert contracts. And I think, well, it's in TAM, right? It's in the activation method is we practice covert contracts, learning how to identify them. But I think it's more than just a covert contract with another person. It can also be a covert contract with yourself.
Yeah.
Tell me more. What do you mean?
Well, you can create a contract that you can't live by, where that line's always moving.
Like an impossible standard.
Impossible standard.
Goalposts keep moving.
Keep moving the post. Yeah. What's next? What's next? What's next? So I still struggle with that at times because it's very easy to have the conversation with myself to figure out what other people are supposed to be doing. But that's a lot to do with having those open conversations with loved ones or people that matter and being present in that communication.
So you spoke about your girls and you've spoken about covert contracts and about holding yourself to a high standard. What for you has been, as a result of the rising, the biggest insight around that for the way forward?
What came up a lot, and I brought it up quite a bit, which was listening with the intent to understand versus reply. And that's also, I think, listening with the intent to understand versus lecture or tell them what to do. And allow them to walk through the process themselves. Because we're not really raising children, we're raising adults.
I love that line.
Right? So
What a different lens to view things through.
Right.
Like, so how do I want them to enter society and having a conversation? So if it's going to be me telling them and not leading through example of understanding their position or their energy, where they're at, how can I expect them to do that when they're out on their own? And so that's been, my last year and a half has been a lot around just listening and trying to be present of how they're feeling or how somebody else is feeling.
Yeah, there's a challenge in that, isn't there, as well? When we relinquish the control and the judgment, they may show up in ways that you don't like or you don't appreciate, and that's been something that I've experienced in my life with my children, even with my little granddaughter. There are times when her behavior is challenging. So if you were to speak to men around leading children in that regard, what is the behavior that you exemplify more than listening to understand? Is there more?
There's still going to be boundaries, right? So they still can't go over a boundary, or there still has to be some sort of rule, right?
Yeah.
And when they're not around that boundary or rule, or they step over the line, there still has to be accountability around it for them.
Sure.
But I would say what came up for me in the question was not just listening, but also eye contact. And removing distractions.
Okay.
Cell phones, or if it's a serious conversation, turning off a TV, taking their iPad. With my middle girl, we do quite a bit of breath work, meditation. So when she's kind of not connected for a conversation, or getting off the iPad or a device, it takes a minute for that dopamine to settle.
Yeah.
And so there's also a presence in that versus barking an order while they're on a device and bringing them back to present.
So one of the things that for me has surfaced in this conversation has been around acceptance, accepting others for who they are. And how they show up. How does that land for you?
Well, each one of my girls is different.
Yeah. On
a very different level. Sure. So they each have to be communicated with differently.
Yeah.
So you can't imagine, you can't help them be better adults, better kids by expecting them all to be taught the same way.
Fit a mold, yeah.
Yeah, there isn't a mold for all of them. And that's the same for us men too.
Yeah.
That's part of us all coming together is there's a different mold. We're all...
There's misfits.
Right.
Yeah. There are misfits.
We're all misfits. Let's all join.
We might have been the biggest misfit crew.
I wonder why that's funny for all of us.
I see Colton laughing too.
It's a movement of misfits. We don't belong anywhere else. Let's just join the prayer movement. We can all belong together.
We can all belong together.
We can all be weird together. Works well.
Oh, that's pretty good at that.
Yeah.
I want to buy you a gift. Look, if your marriage is struggling, and let's be real, every marriage struggles at some point, but yours is struggling where you've lost that love, admiration, respect, I want to help you. I want to buy you a copy of the book that I wrote, A Man's Guide on How to Save Your Marriage Without Talking About It. In here, I've distilled over 8 years of programs that we've developed at TPM to help men just like you save their marriages without talking about it. There's no fluff, no BS. It's an action plan that you can start using today to actually save your marriage and bring that love and respect back into your family, back into your house. You deserve it. Look, all I ask is you pay the postage, you pay the shipping, I'll buy the book for you. That way you can take massive action today. Click the link or find it in the bio and get your copy now.
So what was some of the other key insights that came up for you during the Rising?
That we all have a lot of similarities. So early on in the journey, I would say I was under the belief that I was an exception. That it was just me that had those issues. Right? But when you look at we have 8 men on the Rising. 9. When you look at, I'm just going to use 10. I resonate with 25%. 30% of them are a very similar journey in mine and my past. And so that connection is empowering.
So many mirrors right, with you guys, all the guys that were here, so many reflections back to one another of struggles, right? And what's fascinating, for example, there was one guy there who had lost his daughter to suicide. There was another guy there who only a few months previously had found a suicide plan on his daughter's phone, right?
Yeah.
And these two guys had never met before. So for one of the guys to be sharing from his perspective and his journey around how to deal with that and forgiving himself and all that stuff, obviously we know the impact it was having on the guy that had just found the plan on his daughter's note, right? And then obviously mirrors within sexual abuse, mirrors within other challenges. There's just so many mirrors where you guys were really, it must have blown you guys away. I mean, it blew me away as a coach, being in that circle with you guys at the times. I just couldn't believe the synchronicities.
Right.
It's so healing to be in a group of other men who are in different points of their journey, who can reflect back to you what the other side looks like. And in my experience, I often learn more from witnessing the other men go through their journey and what that reflects back to me about my journey than me going through my own process.
I know, right?
The guard's down, the ego's down. It's about somebody else. It's okay, right?
It's easier for you.
It's easier to journal and get things down. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
But that's also a lot, even with not sitting down when you ask the question, are you stepping to the line? Because maybe when somebody had that happen, and maybe you weren't prepared at the time to have to talk about your insight, your experience with that situation, and you go back and you get in your journal, and then you uncover a similarity. That can be something that you bring up as well by not sitting down, or not stepping back, or stepping forward, saying you're not stepping the line.
Yeah.
You know, suicide is very prevalent in this crew that we had going. But
With
even
girls as well, it was interesting, right?
yeah.
Usually it's with boys or men.
Yeah. Right.
But this was with girls.
Yeah.
So it's scary.
I mean, for you with daughters, holy shit, I can only imagine what you're thinking, right? As these guys are sharing.
Yeah. Yeah, the pressure they're under, the kids, and nowadays with social media, cell phones, information's coming very fast.
I think I was just going to riff on that. The piece that comes up for me is around that safety that we create in the lives of our family members, specifically children, and I think specifically girls from a dad's point of view, because they look to dad, right? Daddy's little girl. It's kind of, I've got two daughters, so it's really, really important to me that they feel safe and that they can open up and that they can express things that they're struggling with. And I think the reason that boys is more statistically prevalent is that it's, I think, more challenging for boys to open up. And yet it's still really vital that we create an open space and a safe space for daughters to share what they're going through. And it's not easy.
Well, no, and this is part of how we do it. We come together as men.
Yeah.
To process, to share, to go through certain things that we need to go through as men. Quite frankly, it's things that you can only really go through in a group of men. And in doing so, we are then able to return home to our families clearer, more grounded, more confident, more certain, to then hold space for the people in our life who need us to hold it. I mean, that's a big piece of being the lighthouse.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Inevitably, the bulb will dim at times and needs replacing. Right. It's kind of like that. That's the point at which we retreat here.
Yeah.
Right. We get what we need to get, the insights, the support, guidance, whatever it may be, and then the light goes back on brighter, stronger than before.
Yeah.
It's key. I am really curious though as well. There's going to be some guys listening to this podcast who have been in the movement a few years, have been to the Alpha Reset. And I've got to imagine they must be thinking, oh, well, what's the point in even going to the Rising? I've been to the reset. It's just another reset. I'm curious what you'd say to those guys about how it's different without giving anything away and how you'd overcome that piece with them.
If I had to sum it up, the power without giving anything away. That's tough. Right. It's an extension on the reset, right? We're moving from a more in the reset. We were really uncovering what was holding us back at that time, and we were just talking about communication, or you're talking about how boys don't open up as much as girls.
Yeah.
If I wasn't able to open up, how can I plan to have my daughters open up to me? And so when I look at after joining the program, after my reset, my connection with my daughters and that capabilities for me to be present, to be there for them, it's a big shift in our relationship.
Yeah.
Now, I wish it happened at a younger age for my oldest.
Yeah.
I wish I would have seen that sooner. Not that I was a terrible dad, but could I be better? Yeah, I can always be better. So going from the reset to the rising, I would say it's a deeper understanding of myself and what Derek needs. What do I need more of? Because when we fill our own bucket, when we fill our own needs of what we need, that multiplies into the people around us. So I believe I have a better sense of who Derek is and how to be better for myself, which will ultimately not trickle, it'll be like a tidal wave to the other people that are important in my life.
Yeah, the way I described it is the reset kind of cracks you guys open. Because for most of you guys, I'd say 99% of you guys, it's the first real exploration into doing real work on yourself, right? That just can't be done through therapy or talk therapy or whatever it may be. You've got to be taken to the deepest recesses of the darkest places that you've been hiding from. And the reset then gives you the ability to start to lay a new foundation. And then as you then integrate after the reset, and Mr. Drake, the Redwood, he was on here before, and he was saying, yeah, look, after the reset, I integrated what I learned there for the following months, years, whatever, until I reached another plateau, right? The ceiling, the previous floor becomes, the ceiling becomes the floor, right? At which point the rising, because you guys have done the work at the reset, you've integrated the changes and you've started to build a different foundation, it enables you to be able to come here and do the nuanced work here. There was a lot of subtleties within the work that we did here over the past 5 days.
Yeah.
That I think had somebody not been through a reset, it wouldn't land. They wouldn't see the value in it.
Yeah.
I don't think. I can't remember who it was. Somebody came up to me over the past few days and said, hey, the work that you guys do here, it's kind of like your metaphorical heart surgeons.
It was me.
Was it you?
Yes.
It's a great way of putting it, right?
Yeah.
Heart surgery being so precise and intricate.
Yeah.
That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch on something you said. So when I had first joined TAM, I was 5-6 weeks in where I was really digging into Stickman, and I had went to our counselor therapist, and we were sitting down with her, and I was going through Stickman and the exercises and things we're doing, and she actually said, "You don't need to come see me. Stick with what you're doing because most men won't do that type of work."
Yeah.
Wow.
So I had only seen her since then. That was roughly 3 years ago, one other time, and she's like, I don't know what you're going to get from me that you're not getting from what you're doing.
Yeah.
So
that goes back to Tim's point around the only way is to do it with a group of men, because we can hold space and the energy required for other men to do their work. right? That's what makes it special.
But it is interesting when you say the floor, because there is a level where, look, I had doubts coming in. I had a lot of excuses of last week before we came out. Like, do I need to do this? I've got a lot going on with work. Do I need this experience? Can it wait? Was there fear maybe in that? Could be some fear. But I'm very, very glad that I did it. To experience it with the men, to realign me for that next floor, that next level. Yeah, it's going to be powerful. I'm pretty excited to get home. And
It's usually when we need it the most, when we're saying, I'm too busy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you've taken on so much in life, you're leveling up, be it through business or whatever. You're feeling the pressure, right? In a lot of respects, it's a great time to do it because then it resets the foundation and increases the capacity to be able to handle the next level of growth that you are clearly wanting to invite in.
yeah. But same with EOS, like on our quarterlies. We've had a couple quarters where the team was like, we got so much going on. Do we need to do this? Do we need to do it? And we're like, let's just do it. They say we got to do it. And then everybody at the end of that day is like, I'm so glad we did this.
Yeah.
Because we realign our direction for what's our next quarter or the year look like. Yeah, it's important.
Just to appreciate you and the courage you've shown to show up and lead in a way in this group of men. And I really respect you as a father of girls. Well done.
You too. And I appreciate that. I hear you. Thank you. I will, after you mention that, I do have to say that I really, really appreciate you guys being here and the work that you do, because it's a lot of fun. I'm forging lifelong
fun
relationships. Yeah.
It's going to be painful for us. I can see where you need to go. I can see where you're stuck. Go there.
Go there. Figure it out. But no, as far as anybody contemplating doing the Rising, I would highly recommend coming out, experiencing what we've went through with the group of men and being open about it.
Yeah.
There's some fear in it for sure. Because what could we do different than the reset? Because the reset's so powerful. But then having gone through, I guess I'm the 20th in the first 20.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. So
Special.
It's special. Yeah.
That's what I said to you on the pre-event call. This is not an extension of the reset. This is something completely different.
Very much different.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So, guys, as we like to say, the moment of insight, take massive action. We'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.